Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome to another CUB Facebook Live. My name is Sarah Moskowitz. I am the Deputy Director at the Citizens Utility Board of Illinois, and I'm joined today by a different David. David Weaver is with me today, so get excited. I'm already planning on what kinds of questions I'm going to ask him about punk rock. But before that, we need to talk about, I guess, work-related stuff. So David, why don't you introduce yourself to the audience? How long you've been at CUB, what's your background, and what are you working on with us?
Yeah, absolutely. Hi, everyone. My name is David Weaver instead of Kolata, and I've been with CUB since October. So coming up on my 8th or 9th month, math in public, not my strong suit. Really loving my time and getting to work with such passionate, nerdy, awesome people here at CUB, and of course with all of our CUB volunteers and getting to outreach and talk with all the folks who are tuning in tonight and anywhere else. My focus at CUB is building decarbonization. I'm our carbon-free buildings coordinator, which is a lot to unpack in there. What does buildings decarbonization even mean? But really focusing on any way that we can make our homes more affordable when it comes to energy use, as well as cleaner and better and more sustainable and more resilient as well. So I think that's going to start to shift us to geothermal. But before that, I was in the Marine Corps for 10 years, and I'm still in the reserves. And I did intelligence, and also I have a master's in resilient and sustainable communities. So this was a perfect transition for me.
It's amazing to hear you say you've just been at CUB for like 8 months, because you have done an immense amount of work in under a year. It's been fantastic seeing you take the task and run with it. Specifically today, we wanted to talk about our Grow Geo Chicagoland program. People who followed CUB may be aware of the fact that for the past few years now, and again this year, we've run a bulk purchasing program focused on helping improve access to rooftop solar for folks in Chicagoland, Cook County, DuPage, Kane, Will counties. And this year we're adding Lake County to that for the Grow Solar Chicagoland program, which basically couples consumer education, really in-depth consumer education, with a vetted installer who's been selected by a committee, including CUB, the Midwest Renewable Energy Association, and the participating counties, to really bring further value of solar to folks. And it's been fantastic these past several years. We've helped dozens, if not hundreds, probably at this point, hundreds of people access rooftop solar. So, about several months ago, we were kind of gearing up for a lot more work in the building electrification realm, not just for new construction, but talking about how folks who, like me, live in older buildings can work on electrifying the buildings so that we are not burning fossil fuels on site to heat our air and our water and to cook our food because of just cost reasons, but also climate reasons and indoor air quality and health reasons. But, geothermal, what is it? A lot of folks, would hear about heat pumps, and at least where I'm from in kind of mid-Atlantic East Coast, heat pump is still kind of a dirty word because people still associate it with heat that doesn't work, which, times have changed quite a bit. And then geothermal, what does that mean? Are we talking about hot springs? No, we're actually talking about air source heat pumps. And there's just a lot of consumer education to be done, and just education for folks internally at CUB. So we started thinking about it, talked to some partners, got David on board, and who's really run with it to see if we can kind of replicate that excellent model that we've pioneered in Chicagoland for solar, and see if we could do that to make ground source heat pumps or geothermal more accessible for homeowners around here. So I've already talked a lot, and I already promised you, David, that you were going to be doing most of the talking. So why don't you give us a little background on the program, who our partners are, and where it's at?
No, this is perfect. This way I can just stand here and look pretty, and I could do at least half of that. Um, so when we talk about our solar, right? Solar is so fantastic because it helps clean up our grid, which is, a huge part of the fight that we have to do to help make our energy system more affordable and more reliable and more sustainable. But the other half of it is if we're still burning natural gas in our homes to heat our homes, it doesn't matter how clean, well, it does matter, but it's less impactful if our electricity is clean because we're still burning natural gas, a fossil fuel, a dirty pollutant and dangerous fossil fuel in our homes. It's not the full solution. So we started to look at what's the next step, which is electrifying our homes, and geothermal is a really great option for it. But before we go too in depth on why, I think we should just discuss a little bit about what is a heat pump, because not many people know what a heat pump is, and it's kind of yeah, I think most people have a good understanding of what a furnace is. It burns natural gas and heat comes out and it spreads to your entire home. What about a heat pump? Well, the nice thing is we all have them in our homes already. Um, so when we think about heat, we know that we can create heat. We can burn natural gas. We can burn wood. We can even rub our hands together really, really fast and create heat. But how do you create cold? You can't, because cold is the absence of heat. So how do our refrigerators work? Well, our refrigerators work by taking the heat energy that's inside a refrigerator and pumping it out. That's why if you put your hands at the back of your refrigerator or at the bottom or sometimes in the front, you can feel warm air coming out. That's that heat energy that's coming from your fridge. A little bit also just the fans and the motor running, but most of that heat that's coming out is the heat that was in your fridge. Your freezer, even more. It's just taking more of the heat energy out of your fridge or your freezer and moving it out. Um, well, that creates an opportunity. Um, we can use that technology in two different directions. Instead of just taking heat out of a place, we could also move heat into a place, and that's kind of the main thought of a heat pump. When it's hot in your house, just like when it's in your fridge, you can take that heat energy and pump it out. So you can either pump it outside your home with into the air with an air source heat pump, or you can pump it underneath your home into the ground with a geothermal heat pump. And then when it's cold in your home, you just reverse it and go the opposite direction. So you take heat energy from either outside or underground and you bring it into your home. And it's way more efficient because you don't have to create heat, you're just moving heat. So these systems can be way more energy efficient um, than having to create your own heat. Plus, as we clean up our grid with our renewable and clean energies, such as solar and wind, that electricity that's being used to move that heat into our homes from underground is becoming more and more clean and more sustainable and more affordable as well. So this is kind of a net win on many different levels. Um, Geothermal is so particularly energy efficient for a couple of reasons. One, there's a lot of energy underground already. Underground, it's typically between 50 to 58 degrees, usually around 52 degrees year round. Underground doesn't know any seasons. It doesn't matter if it's summer outside or if it's winter outside. Underground isn't exposed to the elements. So there's a lot of heat energy in there that we can take and bring into our homes. And of course, that heat energy is constantly being replaced. The ground absorbs some of the heat from the sun, and that moves about underground. There's some heat energy from the core, and also in the summer, you're moving heat from your home and putting it back underground. So sometimes we hear fears of, well, what if everyone does this, will we take all the heat from underground? No, that's not really a significant concern. So we're safe there. Um, so geothermal on many different levels is the most energy efficient way to heat and cool your home. The other thing it does, though, is it can also heat your water. Um, Especially in the summer when it's taking heat from inside your home and moving it underground, they can reroute that heat instead of going straight underground to going through your water heater first. So it can actually create hot water as a byproduct of the system. So it's also not only is it the most cost effective solution to heating your house, cooling your house, it's also the most cost effective solution for heating your water. Which is just fantastic. So one system replaces your heater, your air conditioner, and your water heater. And at CUB, we always recommend that people pay to have someone come and maintain and look at their heating and their cooling once a year to make sure it's running as optimally as possible. Here, you only have to do one system instead of multiple systems. So there's also cost saving there. another major source of cost saving is whenever you switch to electric heat in your home, if you're in ComEd territory, they actually switch your electric rate. Instead of paying the normal electric rate, they actually charge you about 2 cents less with electric heating. That means if you install geothermal in your home, you also pay less every time you watch the TV or turn on the radio or on your computer on Facebook Live. You're paying less to do that.
I feel like I just watched one of your Grow Geo presentations in fast forward. That was awesome. You got it. You touched on a lot of things there that just a few of which I would like to underline for the audience just to make sure that they get it. Like you said, we already all have heat pumps in our homes. If you have a refrigerator, that is a heat pump. If you have an air conditioner, that is a form of heat pump. A heat pump is basically an air conditioner in reverse. And so when you do that, you have both in one unit. It just goes the other way depending on which season it is. Another thing you mentioned is that the climate benefits of electric heat versus fossil fuel heat. And you made the good point that of course is contingent upon cleaning up our electric grid. It's not doing us a ton of good if all of our electricity is coming, for example, from coal, although, I mean, it's taking the fossil fuel burning out of our premises, but it's still happening somewhere else to create that energy. But fortunately, here in Illinois, we have very good clean energy policies. We're on track to reach 100% carbon-free electricity within a couple of decades here, and our grid is being cleaned up every day. So that helps kind of allay any concerns about, how clean is it really? Excuse me, I got a frog in my throat. Get out of there, frog. So I kind of wanted to just make sure folks are clear on that. And then on top of all of that, it's quite efficient. It's remarkable how efficiently these systems work. And they're effective. They're comfortable. Working at CUB for so long, I tend to fixate on money. But also comfort is very important. And so when I'm talking about electric heat or energy efficiency, things like that, I have to remind myself to underline for folks that means that you're comfortable. Of course, heat pump heat is a little different than furnace heat. We're used to kind of like a boom and bust cycle for heat in our homes, like your home cools off and then it blasts just hot air at you and it warms up. And I have a friend who has duct work in her house, and her cats have gotten to the point where they hear the furnace turn on. They walk over to the vents and like sit down on them because they know they're about to get hot. And that's not how it works. If her cats will be upset if she switches to geothermal or air source heat pumps, but it is much more efficient and you have a much more constant temperature throughout your home all the time, as opposed to like hot air coming at you, turning off, hot air coming at you, turning off kind of cycle that we've all kind of gotten used to. So I also just want to mention, we've basically kind of thrown up our hands and said it's okay to just call it geothermal, although some sticklers will say that you should really call it ground source heat pump, because geothermal evokes ideas of heat coming straight from a hot spring, like in Iceland or something. And that's not what we're talking about. It's not like we have hot springs in Chicagoland that we're tapping into. It's really a heat pump coming from the ground, but geothermal is kind of the common nomenclature nowadays. So that's what we're talking about. So David, why don't you talk a little bit about kind of the structure of the Grow Geo program? My understanding is, unlike solar, where you can just hire an installer and they do it all, geothermal, there's kind of some more moving parts there, maybe some more vendors involved. So it's a more complicated kind of program to put together. So kind of describe who we've worked with and what some of the moving parts have been.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for clarifying and underlining some of those points. One of them really struck home. I was talking to a man and he said, why are we electrifying our heating when so much of our so much of our grid, even though we're rapidly moving away from it, is still natural gas based. And even if 100% of our electricity was coming from natural gas, it would still be more energy efficient to get rid of the natural gas furnace in your home and switch to geothermal because it's more energy efficient. You're taking free energy out of underground. So every one part of energy that goes underground, you get 3 to 6 times more energy coming out of it. So even in the situation where we have a dirty grid, we're still saving energy by using these systems, which is a really, really important point. So thank you for underlining it. And for comfort, another thing, you talked about the kind of the boom and busts of a furnace with heating and cooling. That's because both heaters and air conditioners are not very good at maintaining a steady temperature. They operate within a range. They heat your house to a certain range or cool it to a certain range, and then when it gets hot or cold, then it booms and moves back to the other side of the range, and then waits for your house to change again, which is not very energy efficient. Geothermal heat pumps are very good at maintaining a common temperature, so you won't experience those rapid changes throughout the day, which saves you more money because it doesn't need a work extra hard to get you back to that level, which also means sometimes changing. We're used to in the Chicagoland area, hey, we're going to bed at night, so we don't need the heat on as much. We're going to turn it down a few degrees and we'll turn it back up when we wake up because we're going to be under the blankets anyways. You don't need to do that with a heat pump. In fact, you shouldn't do it with a heat pump unless you're just doing it because you like to be colder while you sleep, because your system is better at maintaining a temperature than changing the temperature. But to move on to the questions you just asked about the program, a little bit about the structure. So we determined to do a multiple installer system because of capacity. A solar installer can come into your home and pretty much knock out all the work in one day, maybe one weekend, whereas geothermal is going to take a while. There's a permitting process that has to happen. You can't just call and expect a geothermal system next week. And then there's also the drilling. Some geothermal installers do the drilling of the loops themselves, and sometimes they have a driller that works for them. Two companies that are in a symbiotic relationship, they work together. So because we were concerned about capacity issues, we opened it up to multiple installers. We currently have 7 installers throughout the region. And so this covers Cook County, Kane, Lake, DuPage, Will, McHenry, Winnebago, and Boone counties. And so we have 7 installers spread throughout the area. And how this works is they all had to sign a very strong consumer protection contract that protects the consumer and helps us protect the consumer, and meet some minimum requirements. For example, 75% of their crew has to be certified by the Geothermal Alliance of Illinois for installation and design of geothermal heat pumps. Where this is really crucial is this still allows room. If 4 guys come out, one of them can be an apprentice, not certified yet, but is learning on the job. But with 75% of their crew required to be certified, we're guaranteeing that you're getting the majority of the people on the crew are true professionals, and making sure that they're not messing up the system. We see this a lot in other designs and other heat pump systems where maybe one person in the entire company is certified. And so you're not sure that the person coming to your home is certified. So we wanted to make sure to avoid that issue with this program. So how that works for you is if you sign up for the program, we give your information to the 3 nearest geothermal installers, at which point all 3 of them will contact you, and they will all offer you a bid. They'll all do their inspections, and you get to determine which one works best for you, based on professionalism, based on price, based on responsiveness. And you can decide, hey, I want to go with this one. And we just want to give that power to the consumer within our program. Then how it works is if throughout the entire program, 50 tons of geothermal are installed, and just to put that in perspective, your average home sees a 3 to 4 ton system. So if we reach 50 tons across the entire program, everyone gets $50 back per ton as a rebate to help reduce the price of geothermal, and to maximize our group power. If I walked in and got a geothermal heat pump, I'd get a certain price. But if If I went in there and bought 50 of them, surely I would get some discount, right? And I don't need 50 heat pumps. Nobody needs 50 heat pumps, but group buy power is that we're grouping our community group by grouping purchasing power to get a lower rate. That's where this comes in.
Hey,
And then
David,
yeah,
sorry, quick question about that. Is that 50 tons is across all of the installers?
it is.
Okay,
It is.
great.
So yes, yeah. So it doesn't have to be one installer, getting 50 tons across the 7 installers. As long as there's 50 tons installed within the program, everyone gets $50 back. If we reach 100 tons, everyone gets $100 back total per ton. So if you had it 3 tons, you'd then get $300 off. And if we get over 150 tons, which is our goal, everyone gets $150 off per ton.
Sweet. So, how many? We've already done some power hour, or we're not. Are we calling them power hours? Or
We are.
okay, yeah, some Grow Geo power hours. I remember at a recent all staff meeting, you reported a fantastic number of people signing up to be contacted by the installers. Has anybody started installing yet, or are we seeing? I mean, I know we're seeing a lot of interest so far.
Yeah, we've had 4 power hours thus far, and we're seeing an average of 107 people register for each event. And we're at the stage right now where we're seeing the first proposals come in. In fact, one of our board members, Steve Hall, just sent me his first proposal, and he's expecting a second proposal this week. So we're at that stage in the first couple of months. We've only had 4. We have our 5th one on Monday, if anyone wants to tune in. And I expect, probably within a month, we'll start to see proposals accepted, and then a couple months from now we'll start to see the permitting done and hopefully breaking ground on the first one.
Fantastic. And there's a website, right, that folks can visit to get more info.
Yes, growgeo.org.
Great. That's easy to remember. growgeo.org. I figure there's information up there for checking out one of the in-depth presentations. There's a recording of at least one of those presentations available on the CUB Facebook page or YouTube page too, I believe, right?
Yeah. Additionally, if you go to Grow Geo, there's a tab called Resources where you can get more information. And there's also a recorded power hour. So an hour worth of all the information that you never knew about geothermal, which can really help you make that decision if it's right for you or not. There's a section on financing to help you understand all the incentives. One of the other reasons why we decided to do Grow Geo right now is because the federal government has really helped change the math for folks. Geothermal has always made sense, I think, in the long term, but it's had a very steep upfront cost. The federal government, through the Inflation Reduction Act that was signed this past August, almost a year ago now, provides a 30% tax credit towards the overall cost. So just to keep the math simple, let's just say it cost you $100. Well, the next time you pay taxes, the federal government would give you $30 back as a tax credit, which is even better than a tax deduction, which reduces how much tax you owe. A tax credit counts as taxes you've already paid. So that right up the front, reducing the cost of it is pretty crucial. Additionally, there's another $2,000 federal tax that goes towards a tax credit that helps reduce the price. And currently, ComEd is actually giving a rebate of up to $9,000. Your average home will see about $6,000 of that. So it's all of those incentives all right now make this more affordable than ever before, which is one of the reasons why we wanted to launch this program. But there's a financing tab that'll talk you through all of these incentives, as well as there's the Clean Energy Credit Union that can help finance these with lower interest rates than you could find elsewhere. We have an events page that tells you all about the upcoming events. We have About Us, which will tell you about the organizations that are running this program, about our contractors, so you could hear a little bit more about the installers. A full wealth of resources on this website. If you want to check it out, growgeo.org.
growgeo.org. That's really exciting. I mean, like in a nutshell, now is a really good time to look into this. If you have a house and you're thinking about making the switch, save yourself some money, do your part to get the fossil fuels out of your house. I'm just super proud of the work that CUB has been doing with your leadership, David. It's been, I mean, it's just so crazy that you just kind of had this idea, let's look into it, and it's happening, and we're going to be able to help some folks out. And there aren't a lot of programs like this in the country. I mean, this is where we're kind of breaking new ground here, which is really exciting, but it's needed. And now is a great time with all of the various incentives. It's already 11:57, so this is a half-hour program, so we're going to have to wrap it up. I can't believe it's already, their time's already almost up. But I just want to mention that we're also working on other measures to help folks electrify their homes. I live in an apartment, so, you know, a ground source for heat pump for my individual apartment isn't possible. Other folks live in areas where it may make, or in homes where it may make more sense to go the air source heat pump route. I have friends who live in multifamily buildings where they've done that in their own particular units because they're already had their own individual furnaces for their own individual units. But also multifamily buildings in Chicago. We're exploring community geothermal programs. We're also exploring the possibility of doing a bulk purchasing program potentially for folks who are interested in converting to air source heat pumps in their homes. In the last minute or so, David, do you want to just kind of like talk real quick about some of the other stuff we've got cooking for folks who may not want to go or may not be able to go the ground source heat pump way?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, first I want to correct the record and not allow Sarah to push all the credit my way. It was her direction and feedback throughout the process that's been critical to the success, as well as Marina from CUB staff has been with me every step of the way to make sure this program is running smoothly, and our partners with the Midwest Renewable Energy Association and the Geothermal Alliance of Illinois. We couldn't have done this program without them, and we hope it's successful and helps reduce barriers for folks to make big energy improvements in their lives. Other things that we're doing, we are looking at a air source heat pump group buy. Once again, focusing on folks where ground source doesn't make sense for whatever reason. But that's going to the Inflation Reduction Act also provides rebates to help folks make that transition for air source heat pumps. But those rebates aren't available yet, and we're expecting them to be available in May 2024. So that program is a lot of the design has been done, but we need to reconsider things come May 2024, see if we need to make any adjustments before we launch it. But I'd say we're 50% of the way there. We just need to wait for, you know, the rebates to come closer to, because we don't want to run this program if right now I'm recommending if your furnace isn't dead and you want to switch to an air source heat pump, it probably makes sense to wait if your furnace is still kicking, because there's significant rebates that can help make it a more affordable transition for you.
Mm-hmm.
We just launched our solar group buy this year, just this past week or two. So, you know, that's a big part of making your home more affordable and more sustainable. We're constantly going around the road and talking to folks about other programs that you could be a part of, like AC cycling or real-time rates for your electricity. All kinds of really great programs out there that we can help, that you could be a part of, oftentimes through very little effort, that can save you money and help reduce the demand on the grid.
Yep, super. This is like again, that's what we do at CUB, is we really help connect the dots for folks, you know, between some of these kind of highfalutin policies and how that actually can, you know, folks can seize those opportunities in their own homes to help reduce their own costs that they have to pay every month. So really great talking to you, David. We'll talk again publicly, as well as, you know, offline, about how the program's going and as other exciting opportunities arise. But really, I'm very energized right now. Their stuff is moving, here in little old Illinois. You know, we're doing cool stuff here. So folks, check out growgeo.org, check out citizensutilityboard.org, tons of resources, an overwhelming amount of resources out there for you. But we're also here if you have specific questions or issues. We pride ourselves at CUB on being reachable and responsive to individuals with questions too. So don't ever hesitate. When you call us with your questions, that helps us know what's going on out there and know what people are most interested in. So it's a two-way street. Thank you again, David, and everybody. Thanks for joining, and have a lovely weekend. It's going to be beautiful.